What's lit? What's good? How's everybody tonight? What's lit? What's good? How's everybody tonight? I hope that the sound quality sounds a little bit better, and I hope that you guys enjoyed my previous videos that I put out over the last couple of days. But I think we should get straight on to it. Again, I just want to reiterate, if you didn't already see my post online, if you didn't see my post on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and all of that good stuff, that not a single person in here owes me anything, and every single person is allowed to, whether they donate with their own money, or they just watch ads on my videos, or they click on ads on my videos, or they're just here for the likes and the Falcons talk or whatnot. There's no reason for anyone to be ashamed of anything, no matter what. And I just wanted to put that out there because I saw an atrocious comment that I just had to. I'm sorry, I had to hit it with a bat, hit it in the back of the head with a 2x4, because I thought that was the most ridiculous thing in the entire world. But long story short, I wanted to talk about draft expectations versus reality. And I wanted to have just a quick conversation with you guys on this year's draft versus the expectations for this year's draft. And I hope that my sound quality is a little bit better for you guys, so that it's not booming bass or anything like that. I've really changed up everything on here. But I wanted to talk draft expectations, the fans' expectations, versus the reality of the situation, whether it be this year, next year, or years past. There are a lot of people out there that are calling this a B+ draft. There are also a lot of people overreacting to this draft and saying that every single pick is an A+ pick, and that is not the reality. The reality of the situation here is that this draft, until 4 years down the road, when we get to that particular point, is nothing more than just another draft. And I think a lot of people are going to be disappointed by me taking that particular type of stance, but allow me to reiterate that there are expectations from the fans, and then there's reality of the situation when you come and draft players. And one of the big realities of this particular draft is we were going to need to have one of these drafts in the next couple of years, or we were all going to be in trouble. We were going to have one of those drafts where they grab players that we don't necessarily not want to draft, but we have to address situations that are going to arise. I have two things that I kind of wanted to kind of like press on, but I think I'll just stay on this path first and then go on to the next one. Is that the expectations of the fans, all Falcons fans, was, including myself, including the radio hosts that you guys listen to on the radio, or the ESPN nerds, or the guys and gals at the Falcoholic, or those on Twitter who have their own growing shows. The expectations versus the reality was expectations of the fan base wanting to fix the defensive line, wanting to fix the offensive line, and then everything else is a side effect of fixing those major positions with holes and putting everything else in there. You have not missed anything, Mega Noob. Glad to see you in here. So the expectations that the fans put on this team were, go get our major one tech defensive tackle who can play 3 tech. Go grab yourself an offensive lineman, because we know that Andy Levitri and Brandon Fusco aren't going to be the guys to lead us all the way. And make sure that we have enough signings to address all the other needs as we go. We can address wide receiver at some other point. We can address running back at some other point. But the Falcons did exactly the opposite of that. They decided, okay, here's the deal. Let's find out where the value is, and when it drops to us, we'll make our claim to fame on those particular players. Reason why we drafted Calvin Ridley. Because we were going to need to get a new potential number 2 or number 1 wide receiver of the future. But not a single one of you fans or myself was going to want to actually use a high round draft pick on a wide receiver. None of us. Don't lie to yourselves. Don't say you called the pick, because I didn't. And I bet none of y'all did either. And that's okay. That's fine. That's why we're not GMs. We're fans, not GMs, fans. We can be smart. But we are fans, nonetheless. So when it comes straight down to it, no one was going to want to spend a first-round pick on Calvin Ridley. We did it. No one in here was going to spend a first day or second day pick on one of the best corners in this draft, but we did it. No one in here was going to pick a 4th round running back. We were going to address that in a different way. We did that. In fact, everyone was surprised that the DT, the nose tackle, the base defensive tackle, was 3rd round material. So once everyone in the chat, plus once everyone, out in Falcons land, wherever they're from Tokyo to New York, heard of Calvin Ridley going in the 1st round, Isaiah Oliver going in the 2nd round, those expectations that they tried to push onto the team were shattered. Completely shattered. The reality of the situation was the Falcons were going to need to find a top corner, a top wide receiver, because those particular positions will have holes in the future. And it's good to groom that talent now instead of panicking, grabbing 12 defensive tackles and going, somebody work next to Grady Jarrett. That's obviously going to get us to the promised land. The reality of the situation is that this team drafting in 2018, they drafted for the future. They drafted for the future. The only now pick, the only win now pick was Calvin Ridley. And a few months ago, all of y'all, including myself, would have called anyone who said wide receiver in the 1st round, anyone who said wide receiver in the 1st round would have been called a heretic. But once Calvin Ridley got picked to the Falcons, every single person in here turned into a Calvin Ridley fan. Meanwhile, I put on the smile and I said, I can't wait for Calvin Ridley to get here, and I can't wait for this to happen, and this is a good pick, and I can't wait to see him out there. He has some flags here or there where kind of puts up some weight, he needs some NFL seasoning. But the real me, the fan inside of me said, this is not what I want. This is not what I want. This is not what I feel would be successful for the team. I said it to myself. I said, this is not going to be a successful draft if this is the way that we're going to draft. As the picks came in, day 2, day 3, day 4, or well, picks 2, pick 3, pick 4. I looked out and I said, you know what, man? I can't bomb on this draft because this is the type of draft we were going to have. Mega value in the first round. Going into the second round and grab a future starter at the outside in Isaiah Oliver. Dedrin Sanat comes in. Okay, we got that. That's something that we can build for the future. He's not going to be immediate impact. He'll probably have that same impact that Takk McKinley had. And he'll have more of an impact in his second year. And then Ito Smith. I mean, I can't say anything more about we were going to have to find a replacement for Coleman. If that time comes, and when it does, or if it does, we have to be ready. So we were going to have to use one of the first 4 day, the first 4 picks in our draft to address that situation. Not like Falcons fans really wanted that. They said defensive tackle and defensive end and linebacker and corner. But nobody wanted those picks, those wide receiver picks, those running back picks, those tight end picks to be close to the top. Also, the expectation, by the way, of every one of these players to pan out and to be monsters is over-exaggerated. I hate to be the bubble burster, but asking for every one of our picks to pan out is ridiculous. I know that Dan Quinn is amazing at his job, and I will continue to promote that on this show, no matter what. Because he's good at panning these picks out, He's good at getting these guys to wake up. Especially the defensive guys. But now we have our first major offensive pick under Dan Quinn. And it's a vital piece that needs to grow under Julio Jones and become a potential number 1 wide receiver on this team. Potentially. It has to. Because you drafted him in the first round. Because you have that 5th-year option on him. And because Calvin Ridley has that skill set. If you watched my video, I said he has comparable skills to that of Julio Jones. He has clean route running. It's not something that you just teach every day. That is something mentally broken down, inside the head of a wide receiver, and they learn how to do that. Everything else is repetition. That is the same way with the intangibles with Isaiah Oliver. We need him to be productive. Because what if Alford goes down? What if Trufant goes down? It's not the sexy pick everybody wanted. What if Julio goes down again? Calvin Ridley's going to have to step in there. Not like everybody wanted a wide receiver at 1, though. But it's the pick that has to happen. And I bet next year will be another one of those draft years, where the expectations of the fans will go way over the heads of the reality. And the reality will be next year we'll probably go after another 2nd or 3rd round defensive tackle and addressed offensive line. It is, that's how this is going to go. The Falcons will continue to stack talent in the later rounds on pieces that they feel that they can transform. By the way, I don't think Russell Gage is going to stay at wide receiver. I would not be surprised if Russell Gage changes his position to corner. I would not be surprised if Russell Gage goes out and trains under Dan Quinn, and the reason why we jumped up to get him was we felt that he could change the way that this team sees things. I see Russell Gage as maybe one of the guys that could be super versatile in changing his position. And some people, no, you can't do that. Well, he was a corner when he came into LSU. And then he changed his position. So that's at least my thoughts on expectations versus reality. Let me say hi to all the peeps in the chat. Big John, 6458, Christopher Perkins, B. Ballard, Raichu for the win, James C. Overton III, Run IMC, Megan Noob, Nicholas Dunlap, Harry the Canine Troll, Carl Prince, Kendrick Reed, and David Wright. Good to see all of you guys in the chat. I'm not bogging down any of the picks. Let's be completely honest here. I've wanted to do a show like this for a little while. I've had quite enough of the happy, joy with this particular draft. It's time to really break it down. And let's talk about it. None of y'all were happy with a first-round wide receiver. Don't lie to me. But the value, and once somebody talked you down or at least talk to you about Calvin Ridley, you were like, okay, yeah, I can get it. I get it. Yeah. But then when you dig a little bit deeper and you go, oh man, Julio Jones only has 3 years left on his contract. Mohamed Sanu's getting old. And who's behind those two? Justin Hardy? Hall? Yeah, no. It was going to have to be done. When the value got to our spot, we said, okay, we have to take a different approach at this draft and for the years to come. When Isaiah Oliver was taken in the second round, I think most fans were like, okay, all right, finally, a defensive pick. It only took a whole day, a whole 24 hours to figure this out. But it's a corner, though. We don't need a corner. It's nice to have him, though. Like, truly is. But let's break it down. Why did we take Isaiah Oliver in the second round? Well, value is there, obviously. But the real reason is because Jalen Collins is a knucklehead. If Jalen Collins, I said this already on the show, if Jalen Collins had continued to progress and stay positive and keep himself out of trouble, Jalen Collins would be a starting outside corner for the Falcons, and Robert Alford would be inside. Period. Period. So now Isaiah Oliver comes in with his intangibles and his build. And as long as Isaiah Oliver keeps himself out of trouble, which he seems to have one hell of a pair of brains on those shoulders, then that means that Isaiah Oliver will eventually start as an outside corner and pull or Alfred into the inside. Period. Isaiah Oliver isn't going to stay in the slot the entire time. Jalen Collins, I'm telling you right now, if Jalen Collins had not gotten into trouble, then he starts on the outside. And I completely agree with David Wright. Jalen Collins is yesterday's news, and we have moved on. Yes, but I'm gonna remind y'all that Dan Quinn brought in Jalen Collins for a reason. And had he not gotten in trouble, Robert Alford would be your slot corner right now. One hell of a slot corner who can play outside. Who's proven it time and time again. Living by the sword and dying by the sword, Robert Alford can get you an interception. He can break up a pass. He can lay the wood. But the moment you put that man into the slot, he eats you up. So Isaiah Oliver comes in here to become the leader in the cornerback slot. At least in the clubhouse, to become the next outside corner. Dan Quinn loves length. He'll get it any way he can get it. Long arms are really, really tall. He doesn't matter to him. As long as you play with that fire and that intensity that he's looking for. So when you dig a little bit deeper, you know. Now let's take a quick look at Dedrin Sneed. I've already done a video on this, but I'm just gonna go. When I saw the pick, I said, ew, yuck, gross. Don't like this pick. Finally address the defensive tackle spot, and you let all the defensive tackles that you talk to get drafted by someone else. And now you're drafting Dedrin Sneed. You're drafting a guy that I've watched tape on and you've had very little contact with, but you're drafting this guy because he's one of the top guys that's left. Whoa! And I went and got a beer and drank it. Because I was like, look, there's nothing wrong with this player. It's just like, God. You waited all this time to grab this? This is what you grabbed. As a fan, I was upset. But as Lieutenant Dan of Unintentional Grounding, I immediately opened up my phone and rewatched tape on him immediately. I was standing, picks were going by, and things were happening, and all I was doing was watching film on Dedrin Sneed. Because I was going, I need to refresh myself. I need to know what this is. Because I already know who he is, but how would he work with the Falcons? How will we use him? What place will we put him into? So I spent the better part of today breaking down who we have gotten from the undrafted rookie pool, who we have under contract, and who we drafted. And I broke them down into different sections, and I put them on a PDF. And I just started going through who's on the 53 and who's not. Who's on the starting 53 and who is not. I just started going through it. And I found out that there's about 13 picks when you really put the guys that are locked into the Falcons. Like those are the locked in guys. When I finished looking at those guys, that is counting every single one of our draft picks. And then the locked in guys. I said there's 13 spots left. Who stays on this team? And when I started really poking and prodding at who could stay and who could potentially be surprise cuts, I started thinking about, wow, this team's not going to look any different at the major spots, but everywhere else, you're going to be like, who's that number? Who's that guy? You're going to, what? What? There's a lot of undrafted free agent rookies who have made it into the third and fourth string. Wow. Can't believe it. There will be 13 players that you do not know on this team this coming season. And you will have to educate yourself. Linebackers, corners, wide receivers, defensive tackles. You will not know some of the names that will pop out there because I think the Falcons are done. Shocker! Shocker, I think they're done with free agency. What about Hankins? He's about to probably get signed by the Redskins. I'm super excited to say that I think this is done. We're done with the draft, we're done with free agency, and we're moving on. Unless some teams cut some crazy players, we're done. We don't need anybody else. That's it. That's it. We're competing against each other now. We're competing in-house. Jason Strong goes, the rest of the NFC is bolstering their trenches and the Falcons are not keeping pace. I beg to differ. I beg to differ. I beg to differ when we talk about the Falcons not keeping pace with the rest of the NFC. Because it's all about playing chess, not about playing checkers. Now, I'll tell you this much. If I am checkers king and I beat the crap out of you in checkers, then that's a different story. But if I'm like maybe 500 on checkers, then you beat me 60-40 on chess, then we're playing chess now, aren't we? The Falcons are playing chess right now with the NFC. Yes, all the NFC teams mostly got corners and D linemen, and the Falcons went and got a wide receiver and a running back and a corner and a defensive tackle. Spread out the picks among areas that will eventually have gaps in it. Beautiful. Beautiful drafting. Beautiful drafting. But as a fan, it makes you sick because you're like, that's not getting things successful. That is not creating success. That's like backing up. So with that kind of discussion right there, and just kind of just to tell you guys the realization, the reality of the situation is we drafted to cover our butts for the future, not for the win now. And we are expecting the offensive line to carry itself, the running backs to do their job, Sark to be a better offensive coordinator, Matt Ryan to have his stuff together, these wide receivers to be able to stop dropping balls, this defense to continue to play hard-nosed football, even losing Dontari Poe and Adrian Claiborne, by implementing some rookies and some amazing players into this defense, and try to catch lightning in a bottle in the second year of a coordinator that didn't do a bad job. Didn't do a bad job last year. It was all about execution, to be honest. If some plays, and I spoke about this earlier, not in this show, but in a couple of shows ago, that had the players just executed what Sark was asking, they would have scored more touchdowns. If they had caught the ball when it needed to be caught. If they didn't create turnovers on themselves, then Sarkisian's a pretty straight shooter. But ifs, ands, and buts, and horseshoes and hand grenades, had Sarkisian just gone out there and done the simple things. That's what every Falcons fan has said since December of last year. If Sarkisian had just done the simple things, we would have won. If the players had just done what they needed to do, Sarkisian wouldn't be in so much trouble. I'll bitch slap the next Falcons fan that comes up to me and tells me Sark is the problem. Because when I open up the tape, I'm going to show you all the drops. Oh my goodness, the butt interception. That's Sarkisian's fault. You're gonna blame Sarkisian for that. I'm not gonna go on this tangent. But I'm telling you, that is the reality of the situation, is that Sarkisian did his job. Players, do yours. And the defense did their job. Oh, by the way. And had really the offensive side of the ball. It's the biggest blaming is that the wide receivers, the tight ends, and Matt Ryan, along with shoddy blocking from the running backs. The offensive line did what they could, for what it's worth, by the way. Had the players on the offensive side of the ball just done their job, this offense would have been top 10 something stupid. So the next person that comes up to me and says Sark is the problem, then you didn't watch any of the games. I'm sorry, I'm a little fired up. Excuse me. So I'm going to go ahead and open up to Falcons questions and comments in the chat. And if you haven't already said hi, please do say hi in the chat. I would love to talk to you guys. But I truly think that expectations and dumb, loud fans had everything to do with Falcons fans blaming the wrong people and shouting at the wrong things. It's like dogs that get distracted by squirrels. One dog starts yelling at the squirrel for no good reason. The squirrel is just doing his own business. And then every other dog in the yard comes running over. And that squirrel's like, "What do you want from me? What do you want from me?" Sark had a way better play calling after week 4. What will our heavy personnel look like for teams like the Eagles? John Williams, good to see you. If you're talking about heavy personnel, if you're talking about base package, you're probably talking about Brooks Reed, Grady Jarrett, Dedrin Sinat, and probably Shelby or Tack on the outside. And then our nickel or our 4-2, what is it, a 4-2-5? Our nickel situation is going to look a lot lighter. Vic, Tack, Grady, Crawford. And then probably 2 linebackers, Dion and Campbell, most likely, and then a bunch of DBs. A heck load of DBs. That's kind of how I feel they would do that. And then probably in that base package as well, I don't think that Sanat is going to play or start in ridiculous amount of snaps. I think that Crawford and Shelby and maybe someone else, maybe we sign one more free agent. I think we're done, though. But maybe one more free agent to come and play at that 3-tech position while Grady Jarrett plays the nose. Also, huge fallacy that Grady Jarrett was the 3-tech and Dontari Poe was the nose. I'll break somebody's nose if I have to hear that again. Grady Jarrett played more nose tackle than Adrian Claiborne did. Incredibly hilarious. Dontari Poe, or excuse me, I said Adrian Claiborne, didn't I? I know I did. Dontari Poe played less nose tackle than Grady Jarrett. And Dontari Poe, by the way, played so much 3-tech. And that's why I keep telling people that our 3-tech is actually a run stopper to stop the center and guard. And our 1-tech is in there to penetrate the A-gap in between the tackle, in between the center and guard and get up in quarterbacks' faces. Dante Grant goes, "What's good, Dan? Glad to know there are Falcons fans that go as hard as you outside of Atlanta. Rise up, my guy." Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Please just tell me something optimistic that we can expect from this O-line. They're going to be good. They're going to be solid. The PFF grades across, if you really even care about PFF grades, the PFF grades across the line, if you look at every single one of these guys, are in the top 20, if not the top 15. So it's great. It's great across the line. It's a really good line. And it's an athletic line. How are they going to hold up against Philly? We'll see that week 1, won't we? Busco really that big of a difference maker? Do you want a capable guard above average? Or do you want Wes Schweitzer? I'll ask you that. There, curiosity killed the cat, but I ain't killing anybody in here. Dan, what do you think of the media trying to make something out of Julio's withdrawal with social media? I think that it's a joke. And by the way, Get ready. Get ready. No problem, Jason. Get ready, guys. I want everybody in here to understand. When you guys turn on social media and when you guys turn on ESPN over the next couple of months, you know what they're going to be talking about? Anything they can get their grubby hands on. Oh no. Matt Ryan's shoelace came untied on the side of the street. That means that he doesn't want his shoes anymore, which is a sign of him not wanting to sign his contract because he's going to go cheap. Blah, 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 blah. It's going to be like that for the next couple of months. It's going to be like that. And y'all know that. I mean, y'all are smart. All of y'all are smart. But the 4-letter networks and the 3-letter networks are going to go out there and they're going to get their grubby hands on anything they possibly can because football is addictive like crack. And they want to get you riled up. So Troy Mackey, good to see you in the chat and thank you for the question. The number 7 rated QB was Riley Ferguson out of Memphis and rated behind Oklahoma State's Mason Rudolph. The number 8 rated QB is Kurt Benny of the Falcons. Signed him. Okay, cool. Dan, who's our DE backup behind Tack and Vic? If I remember correctly, let me pull up the little thing that I have here. Remember correctly. Looks like we have Brooks Reed, Derek Shelby, and then McKindy. I'm gonna destroy this name. Chirador, undrafted free agent rookie. And then some say that that Crawford could also potentially kick out to defensive end if we needed him. Goodness. So, I guess that is kind of the setup. Falcons fans should rejoice that Schweitzer or whatever is not our guard for now. What are we doing with KZ? We are stashing him behind Allen right now. And it's not like I want to stash him behind Allen, but he's probably the future of the free safety position for the Falcons. Just a random thought, but Freeman in both the last 2 seasons had a vital role in our losses, the missed block in the Super Bowl and playing nearly major injury the playoff years. I don't know, man. I don't want to go too deep into some like spooky, superstitious whatnots. I think Schweitzer's valuable backup right now. Yeah, true. What about the possibility of re-signing defensive tackles Courtney Upshaw and Thea Rubin for depth? There's a possibility that we could do that a little bit later if we felt like that was something that we could not get out of the current defensive tackle crop of players, which includes, by the way, Grady Jarrett, Jack Crawford, Joe Ivey, Garrison Smith, Justin Zimmer, drafted Deidre Sanat, and undrafted free agent rookies John Cunningham and Jacob Tuati Mariner, who, by the way, I think makes this team. Jacob Tuati Mariner, Tuioti, is a former teammate of Tack McKinley and is a deadly 3-tech defensive tackle. Now, they had him playing defensive end for a little bit because of Tack McKinley leaving. Also because Jim Mora left, and, you know, Jim Mora is actually a pretty good coach and knew how to use his players, and their AD did not like him. So I would say that maybe one of those guys sticks, and we actually have one of those guys that we thought was a lock will get kicked off to the side. I'd like to see Jacob on the 53, be honest with you. Or at least hit the practice squad and see if anybody actually does want to steal this man. Tori wants to know if I'm going to training camp, and I am. Yes, I will. I don't know the dates yet. Yeah, don't listen to them. Ito Smith looks like a really good pick. I don't know why people hate him, or hate the pick. Because nobody wanted and this is expectations versus reality. I don't think anybody wanted us to draft a running back. They wanted us to draft double DTs. I don't know where they would have gotten that idea. Brooks Reed, Derek Shelby, yes. If you could trade one player of value on the current roster, who would it be and why? Probably Freeman. Because I could get at least a first, a second, and a fifth out of Freeman because of his value. Or at least 2 seconds. From the value of Devontae Freeman. And I wouldn't lose anything because if it was straight money, like we didn't have any dead money, then I would just pay Coleman and call it a day. That's just me. I think Freeman will leave instead of Tevin because of the concussions. I feel is a fallacy created by Falcons fans that are upset with the way that Freeman has performed and his injury history. And they're trying to find any way, shape, or form to justify him getting kicked off the team. Ito Smith is bigger, faster Freeman, and that's a plus. It seems more loose as well for the tape. He's quicker than fast. And he is violent. Got great vision. Ito could definitely be a starter. Really miss J.D. McKissick. And now he's a full-time player for the Seahawks. Signed the number 15 rated guard as an undrafted free agent. The kid out of Utah. Seen him play collegiately. And he will compete for a backup guard position. And you feel that he will beat out Wes Schweitzer. Crazy. Crazy. So I'm going to go ahead and end the show here because I want to go play some games on Mixer. You guys can join me on mixer.com/GoatyRamSam to come chat football with me and come see me play some video games. But do hit me up, UNGR_show on Twitter and on Instagram. Give me your thoughts in the comments section. After this video goes live, is posted for you guys, tell me what you think of expectations versus reality of this draft. And expectations versus the reality of how these players are going to perform going forward. I thought I'd just do a little video like this and kind of get those things out of the way. Peace, Greece. Rise up to all the peeps in the chat. Thank you so much for joining me for another edition of Unintentional Grounding Live. Hope you guys have a wonderful night. Peace. Listen to nothing but the facts and the truth.